Hillbrook Insane Asylum Patient File Update. Entry by Dr. Quinton Quartermain. Apologies for the lateness of this entry. I have been quite preoccupied these last few months. As you are probably aware, I am currently pursuing a new career path, and while nothing is set in stone, I feel it is best I get things in order here first. So, in accordance with the annual patient review, I am putting together an overview of all patients within my care, covering their disorders, their progress, and in some cases, the potential dangers they pose. Please ensure that whoever may end up covering for me receives this information. Who knows, maybe you will be able to fix what I could not. I certainly hope so. Patient number 712, Axel Breitling, aka Piston Head. Patient's hallucinatory state still persists, he still maintains his mechanophilia-based delusion, but there have been some recent developments that do show promise. For starters, he has improved health-wise, having begun eating again. While his main focus remains ever on his imaginary car, Vanessa, we have reached a point where it is no longer all he thinks about all the time. This is thanks in part to him starting to socialise with some of the other patients. He has been convinced to leave the cell, his garage, on occasion to try other areas, even talk to people. Unfortunately, his grasp on reality is still a loose one. Everything he sees and hears is still reworked so that it falls in line with his fantasy. A trip to the cafeteria becomes a trip to a drive-thru restaurant, a person who befriends him becomes a fellow car enthusiast, etc. Still, I do believe it is an angle worth pursuing. Past attempts to forcibly get Mr. Breitling to wake up to reality have always been met with failure, often causing him to regress further into this behaviour. I believe then it would be best to give him some breathing room. Let him take this where he wants to go. The idea would be to let the delusion stretch itself out, let him amass some discrepancies all on his own, till eventually all it takes is a single hole being poked in its plausibility to have the entire delusion fall apart under the weight of itself. It's very much a long game here, but if it works, it will be worth it. Next up, patient number 888, Cleo Lawson, aka Cleopatra. A major development with this one, though it is hard to say whether or not it is a positive one. For those unaware, earlier this year, a breakout of several patients was orchestrated, with the Silent taking responsibility. This included patients number 105, number 155, number 345, number 425, number 426, number 605, number 730, number 888, and number 912. We will be getting to some of those in a moment, but the main point is that these 9 patients escaped, and for whatever reason, were recruited to perform a task on behalf of the Silent. This somehow escalated into several of them hijacking a tank from a military base and taking it for a joyride through the streets. Thankfully, several of Ebony City's resident vigilantes banded together and put a stop to them, but upon recapture, it became evident that something happened to number 888 while she was out there. When first returned to us, she was in a catatonic state, self-imposed as far as I could tell, and while she has since awakened, she is a changed woman. Gone are her declarations of superiority or that she is the Pharaoh reborn. She is now this quiet, reserved figure, never talking to anyone, just wanders about, occasionally mumbles to herself, but that's it. She doesn't even wear her makeshift royal gown anymore, just puts on the uniform now, no fuss. To say the least, this is a complete 180 to her previous behaviour, and while in some ways this is a good thing, in other ways it makes her treatment more difficult. She won't talk, won't respond to any outside stimulus. She is completely closed off from the outside world. The consciousness is still there, but it has retreated deep within, leaving us with just the body working on autopilot. Something is going on inside that head of hers. But until she lets someone in, it's anyone's guess what it could be. Patient number 935. Amber, last name unknown, aka The Giant. Nothing new to add here. Patient has been cured for over a year now. She has not reoffended since her release, and from what I have been told, she is very happy with her new life. No further record is necessary. This file is officially closed. Meanwhile, patient number 200, Philip Dewitt, aka Ghost Writer. While some improvements have become evident over time, violent outbursts, for example, are few and far between, I feel as though Mr. Dewitt's mental health has only been getting worse. Following our most recent session together, see previous audio file for reference, he has become more paranoid, his once blind love for the asylum now being brought into question. He's convinced we've been compromised by the conveniently never seen and completely covered up at all times coalition that apparently controls the entertainment industry. The one he believes has been hounding him for his entire career and is to blame for all of his past failings. Note to all staff, said coalition is a figment of the patient's psychosis. Do not play into this delusion. I know this would normally go without saying, but given the usual caliber of recruits Hillbrook gets, I can't afford to take any chances. Dewitt, as a result, is more resistant to taking his meds, possibly worried they're secretly nullifying his talent or something. I don't know, the man is just impossible to work with. Right now, the best course of action I can think of is to withdraw for a bit. Perhaps if he feels less smothered, this theory of his may lose much of its steam, and it will slip back into his previous mindset. It was never a great mindset, but it was easier to handle than this, and frankly, you need to take every advantage you can get with this one. Dewitt was right about one thing: he never backs down. Patient number 921. Lyrebird. Real name unknown. By far my most difficult case of all, Lyrebird was among those that were briefly freed by the Silent, and was instrumental in the aforementioned break-in at the military base. If there was any hope that his time at Hillbrook may have changed him for the better, it was dashed the moment he got out. He killed and stole the face of a man by the name of Jack Shaft, military general and loving family man. This was a part of the group's plan, though Lyrebird himself clearly took more than a little pleasure out of getting to explore a new role after so long. He even spent a whole night at the Shaft family household. Due to his commitment to the bit, he thankfully didn't harm any of them, but it didn't make it any easier for Mr. Shaft's wife and 2 children when they learned the truth. And that was only after Lyrebird was apprehended. Treatment-wise, I still haven't made any headway. No amount of drugs or medications seem to affect him. And in terms of therapy, he's about as uncooperative as a patient can get. I don't even have an angle by which to approach his case. The only bargaining chip that would account for anything would be his true identity, but I know as much about that as he does. Now, in most cases of amnesia, this wouldn't be so bad. He could still build a new identity for himself, live a fulfilling life. But he has no desire to build, only to steal. He's dangerous, he's trained, he's willing to kill, and if there truly is no way of changing that, well, then we're looking at another permanent resident. If we can't fix him, then we can at least keep the rest of the world safe from him. Patient number 345. Peyton Huxley, aka Peyton Black, aka Killseeker. Audio file deleted by accident. Please address written file for further information. Another participant in what the media has dubbed the Mad Tank incident, 345 has proven to be one of the more informative of Cleopatra's collaborators, proudly telling us everything she did on her little outing. In all honesty, I wish she didn't go into so much detail. Her sentence certainly won't be getting any shorter. One upside is that following all this chaos, the easily bored 345 seems to be satisfied for the moment. Hopefully this means it will be a while before she next causes us any trouble trying to get her next fix of action and adrenaline. Aside from that though, there is little change to report, except for one odd development. Number 345 has seemingly developed an infatuation with patient number 105, Patrick Gordon, otherwise known as Tin Man. Considering his obsession for causing mass destruction and her love of being in extreme danger, it is somewhat understandable where this is coming from. I just find it strange, given her well-established complete disregard for human life, that she is capable of developing feelings of any kind towards another. But seeing as how it still ties into the thing we are trying to stop her doing, namely killing people, it is not an angle I would recommend exploring. Besides, I've been informed by Dr. Farnsworth that number 105 is not interested, which is probably for the best. Patient number 730, Duke Hardback, aka the Invader. He is dead. Patient number 617, Hannah Walsh, aka McCanna. Audio file unavailable, damaged during riot, scheduled to re-record. I fear out of all my patients, I may have neglected Miss Walsh the most. With how frequently she lands herself in the infirmary, I rarely get a chance to talk to her. There is therefore little I can really report about her, other than that her desire to be free of her mortal body and to become a robot is unchanged. Jeez. And her schemes through which to achieve this have become increasingly convoluted. From instigating fights to even using her own feeding tube to cut off circulation, there are seemingly no lengths she won't go to. Strong restraints are advised. Patient number 856, Wendell Acado, aka the Wheel of Fate. Speaking of schemes, Mr. Acado has been quite busy as of late, and I'm sorry to say our original plan to give him increased free reins around the asylum ended up backfiring. Using the time allotted to him, he started amassing whatever bits and pieces he could find, managing to fashion them into a small yet effective variation on his infamous death chambers. Seems he was rather desperate to resume his duty to the universe. He only got as far as hosting one game of chance before he was found out, though he still got away with killing an orderly. This sadly confirms his treatment so far has been ineffective. An all-new approach may be necessary. In the meantime, he is to be confined to his cell once more. I am aware this may irritate certain members of staff who have become fond of the semi-regular card games 856 has been holding in the cafeteria, and to those members of staff, I would like to remind you that losing at said games means 856 considers you worthy of death. Stop taking part in them. You are literally tempting fate. Finally, patient number 155, Guy Smith, aka Henchman. Yet another patient involved in the Mad Tank incident, number 155 was also among the first to be recaptured. Upon the group's return to Ebony City, he walked into the nearest police station and turned himself in. Obviously, someone must have told him to do so. Annoyingly, whoever told him that must have also told him to ignore outside input again, because once we got him back, he was refusing to respond to any and all commands. Luckily, we were able to break him out of this state just like last time. And as it turns out, his reboot process does not require a self-induced state of unconsciousness. Just knocking him out with a rag of chloroform seems to do the trick. Once he woke up, he was back to, well, calling this man normal would be quite inaccurate, but he was back to the way he was before. Unfortunately, rebooting him seems to have also wiped any memory he built up at this point, meaning any progress I may have made with treating him up to this point is now gone. Great. Just great. Really, with us being back to square one with number 155, it's a case of whether we repeat what was done before, hoping for the same results, or start over with something new. I doubt he'll mind either way. And that just about covers all of them. I must say, it has been quite a year. And while I may not know what the next one holds, for once, I can honestly say I'm looking forward to finding out. End recording.